Hi, Larissa. Oh, they sent us a brochure. Maybe I'll drop it in the chat. I think it's a brochure. They emailed it at the last minute. Not the PowerPoint, the brochure. But maybe I'll drop it in the chat box. It's like a thing, you know, those things you give out to people. You're on mute. Oh, what is the brochure? Yeah, they sent us there's.
Yeah, Susan sent me the email with their presentation. Is that what you're talking about in their handout from Brooke?
Oh, there's a pack. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, the overview.
Yeah,
right? The
I can drop it. Yeah, I have it open, so I can drop it into the chat for anyone during the presentation if they want to download it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Nice.
That's. Yeah, I know she forwarded you something, but wasn't paying attention what she forwarded you.
And there was so much. We've got a lot of materials for this meeting.
Yeah, so I think we came late, you know, so I was like, the committee members aren't going to read it right now when I'm at 4 o'clock. And so they can, but they can look, it's good for them to look along on the thing. Right, there's a packet, and then what was the other thing? Oh, the other thing was actually the slideshow.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I see, the nine slide slideshow, right?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah, I've got the slideshow open. Where's the other one?
The other thing is like it's like now one is a slideshow, and the other thing I don't think you're supposed to show it, but it's more like a packet, a handout packet.
Yeah, the handout packet. So you don't want me sharing that one?
Well, no, that's the one you probably need to share. Well, ask them what you want to ask, you know.
Yeah, because this one is the
no, that's
Alliance Harm
no,
Reduction Center. It's our services and our services are free and confidential, so it starts at the top.
I mean, I think both are probably meant to be shared. I mean, you know, but the 16-pager, it looks like it's definitely meant to be shared.
The present, you mean the slideshow or the?
No, the 16-page.
Okay.
Right, because it has like a.
Yeah, because that's all the services that they offer. Yeah, the impact on the community. I would say this one, yes, definitely we would want to drop that into the chat.
It has it in. Oh, they have Chinese now too.
Yep.
A Dear Neighbor letter, and that's yes. They just.
Mm-hmm.
I will be right back.
Super. Hi, Brooke. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm Larissa. How are you? By the way.
Hi, Larissa. Nice to meet you. I'm with the Alliance for Positive Change, LES New Jersey.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hey,
Hi,
look.
Alicia.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. I'm sorry I haven't masked. I just have a procedure done and my mouth is not awake yet. So I
Okay.
can be a little funny.
Wait, Larissa, did you
Hi.
get my email earlier?
I'm sorry. Yes, I did get your email that we needed to make Brooke.
Okay, okay, good evening. Welcome to the Manhattan Community Board 3 Health Seniors, Human Services, Youth Education and Human Rights Committee meeting. This is the monthly October meeting. And my name is May. I'm the chair of the committee. But before we start the meeting, I'm going to hand it over to Larissa, who will explain some procedures in the Zoom meeting.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our meeting. I just want to go over a few guidelines before we start. First, I'd like to advise you that the meeting is being recorded. If you are not a committee member, we would ask that you please sign in by entering your name and your affiliation, if that's relevant, into the chat box. If you're not speaking during the meeting, if you could please stay muted to reduce background noise, that would be helpful. Thank you. And if you don't understand how to mute and unmute yourself, if you're on a desktop computer, if you go to the bottom left-hand side of your screen, you're going to see an unmute or mute. It's a microphone button, and just click it to mute and unmute yourself. If you're on their phone, you need to tap the mute icon on your phone at the bottom of your screen to mute and unmute yourself. If you would like to speak, if you could please raise your hand and we will call on you in the order that you've raised your hand. On your desktop computer, if you go to your participants at the bottom of if you're a participant, you go down to the bottom of your screen, there'll be a button labeled raise hand. If you're on your phone and you would like to raise your hand, just press *9. We are going to have a presenter tonight, and after the presentation, our chair will take comments and questions. Our board members will go first with their questions, and then we will open it up to the public, and you'll have a chance to ask. There will be a 2-minute time limit. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied tonight, for your question. Okay, and anything else? If you have questions, if you have difficulty with tech, just shoot me a message in the chat, and I'll see if I can help you out.
Okay, thank you, Larissa. Okay, so we will start the meeting now. We will start with first reviewing the minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes? So if the minutes are okay as they are, then they are approved. Okay, so now we will have the roll call. Thomas.
Okay, roll call. Maylee.
Yes.
Present.
Here.
Melissa. David Crane.
Here.
Eric Diaz.
Here.
Shirley Trinity.
Yes.
Here.
Deborah Jeffrey Glass.
Here.
Tatiana.
Here.
Paul Rangel.
Here.
Heidi Schmidt.
Yeah.
Ricky Wong.
Here.
And Carmen Perez. Carmen?
I don't believe she's here. I
Okay,
don't see her on the screen.
thanks.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Okay, so now we will start the agenda items of the meeting. Okay, so the first one is the presentation from the Alliance for Positive Change. So just a little bit of a refresher for committee members and maybe some background for those who weren't here in the past year. So the Alliance for Positive Change is, most of you know it as the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center, which has been a friend and neighbor for a long time here in the Lower East Side. Last year, it's had its home on Allen Street for a long time. And I think maybe last year or sometime before last year, moved to East Broadway. So they came to our committee twice about the move to the East Broadway location, but twice in the past year, once last fall, and then once this spring, right before the shutdown, to get some endorsements about the relocation. So we passed 2 resolutions, both at committee and at full board, endorsing, supporting the relocation. So more specifically, the first resolution was about support for a grant that they were applying for to outfit the new site. And then later on in the spring in February, right before we shut down, it was just a letter of support for the actual relocation. So I know that they officially opened the office sometime in early September, and there's been a lot of community questions, but they are here today to present about what's going on at the new location and all the services that are being provided there and the programs. So you can start the presentation. I know that, oh, there you go, okay. Oh, okay, before you start, you emailed us a couple of documents. One is the slideshow and the other one is a packet. Would you like us to drop it in the chat box so people can retrieve it and hang on to themselves or see it themselves?
That would be great.
Okay. So Larissa will do that, right? Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, Brooke.
Sure. I'm Brooke Braley. I'm the Director of Administration at Alliance for Positive Change. I am also joined by a few of my colleagues on the call today, so I'll let you introduce yourselves. Brenda, I know you wanted to.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Hi, good evening. I'm Brenda Starks-Ross, the Chief Operating Officer, and we have with us, we're going to start with Evelyn, introducing herself.
Hi, good to see some of you again. My name is Evelyn Lopez. I'm the Chief Program Officer for the Alliance for Positive Change and also the Director for the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center. And I will pass that now to Josephine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josephine. I'm an Assistant Director of Prevention at the Alliance for Positive Change, and we've been a big part of food and nutrition services, both at our main office as well as at the LES.
Joshua.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joshua Chow. I'm the Finance Project Manager for the Alliance for Positive Change, in charge of many of the Brian White grants. Was formerly in the Srvcs program.
Dr. Jeffries?
Yes, hi. My name is Glenn Jeffrey. I'm a board-certified psychiatrist and addiction medicine specialist, and I've been working at the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center for the past 5 years. I live in the neighborhood. I live on Allen Street, and my late wife, who passed away last year from cancer, was a social worker who started in Chinatown, Mylan Tran. So Chinatown is near and dear to my heart.
Okay. And so I don't know if our executive director is on, Sharon Duke. Okay, so she may not be on, but what I'd like to say is on behalf of our board, our executive director, Sharon Duke, all the folks that just presented, we'd like to thank you for welcoming us to the community board meeting once again. So we want to thank the entire board, Maylee, Susan, the Honorable Mr. Yu, and to everyone. And we just want to thank you for allowing us to be here with you this evening. Brooke?
Thank you.
So, I just wanted to give a quick overview of who the Alliance is, because I know you are more familiar with Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center. Alliance for Positive Change was founded in 1990 as actually the AIDS Service Center of Lower Manhattan, or the Lower Manhattan AIDS Task Force. We've had a couple name changes as our scope has changed. We were founded to help people living with HIV get access to prevention, HIV testing, case management, connection and navigation to medical care, and all of the supportive services that would help them lead healthy, self-sufficient lives. Given our legacy as an AIDS provider, we use that expertise to expand to multiple chronic conditions, diabetes, heart disease, asthma, and we took our proven track record with HIV care management and service and really expanded to help people living with multiple chronic conditions get the care and support they needed. So that means HIV and hepatitis C testing, navigation, accompaniment to appointments, understanding questions with your physician, what your labs say, different ways that we can help navigate the medical care system. We also have a supportive housing program in the Bronx and help people through case management get into permanent or supportive housing. Probably our best known for our peer program. We have at least the state's, if not the country's largest peer internship program. So we help people who have walked the walk and have shared life experience take training, take New York State peer certification, and then actually pay internships so that they can go back out into the community and be a real credible voice and messenger of prevention messages. So at any time, we have 150 part-time peer internships that we pay stipends to so people can go out and they reflect the communities which they're going out into. We're also very proud that 30% of our former staff members are former peers. So it's a very much rejoining the workforce program that we're very proud of. We have a continuum of harm reduction and addiction specialist services from our partnership with the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center. We are OHS licensed outpatient drug treatment program up in Washington Heights. But harm reduction and a full service mix approach is how we tackle all of our services. In 2016, the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center became a program of Alliance. We'd always have a great partnership. They were founded in 1992 amidst the AIDS crisis with similar mission to help reduce the spread of HIV, AIDS, and hepatitis. So we really had a lot of great synergies, and we wanted to help create a sustainable system of administrating their program. So LES became a program of Alliance for Positive Change, larger umbrella, but they're very much the same organization that's been on Allen Street for the last 25 plus years. And it's really about substance use management services with compassion and amenity, and then also training others in those same interventions.
Mm-hmm.
So Evelyn, if you wanted to speak a little bit more about LES, since I know you're the expert.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. The Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center, everybody understand or have heard the word Harm Reduction Center. The reality is for us, it's based on client-centered approach. Harm reduction is non-judgmental. Harm reduction means stigma-free. Harm reduction for us means that it's a safe environment for everybody. So within that approach, we have really had developed not only the expertise for linkage to treatment, linkage to care, which we do in partnership with many of the other staff at the agency, as well as with a peer approach. We have successfully engaged several peers in trainings, and they had become experts, and they are our partners in delivering linkage navigation. On top of that, you probably are more familiarized with the outreach in the community and providing harm reduction to people that are in need of substance use. But we had developed in the last 5 years a full-fledged program that it is really about having staff like Dr. Jeffrey providing medication-assisted treatment for people that are using tobacco, alcohol, or other substances. And we'll talk more about that later. But right now, what I think is important is that we linkage to care, we escort, we support and educate any participant, any client that comes in with different chronic issues about how to best manage those conditions. We also provide counseling. We have licensed social workers on staff, and we also have become an expert with a partnership with a hepatologist from NYU to provide hepatitis treatment as well as screening and education. We have developed an ability to provide support groups that are quite loved by our clients. Support groups means that they can express what their frustrations are with treatment. They can express their excitement and the positive changes in their lives. And they totally get supported, not only in the group, but by the counselors and by the rest of the staff that are assisting them. Among the unique things that you probably have heard, and I think all of you know, is we provide overdose prevention education. And as you know, that include our Narcan, Narcan is a medication to stop people from dying from an overdose of substance. We also provide an engagement in entitlements, insurance, and as Brooke mentioned, we work together as one large organization providing health home care management, providing HIV counseling and prevention, providing structured socialization and meals, which you'll hear a little bit more about our nutritional program. So with that in mind, I'm going to pass it out to Brenda.
Okay. So continuing where Evelyn left off, we provide group education, health and recovery coaching, recovery support groups, recovery drop-in center services, acupressure with beads and sometimes with the needles, communal meals, food pantry, and nutritional counseling, care coordinators and linkage to medical care services, mental health counseling. Dr. Jeffries is a psychologist, safe syringe services, harm reduction counseling, overdose prevention, Narcan. And I just want to say, when we speak about Narcan, Narcan is a medication that's prescribed. It's not a street drug. It is prescribed, and anyone who overdoses, for example, sometimes older people are given pain medication, and they take too much. So we're trained to revive someone who has taken too much medication. Medication-assisted treatment, MAT, buprenorphine, which Dr. Jeffries will talk about, entitlements advocacy, housing placement assistance. So we help people to be housed. We also have a housing facility in the Bronx. Hepatitis C and HIV counseling testing, linkage to treatment, navigation to PrEP, treatment adherence education, and structured socialization. So when our folks are on site, they participate in different activities, but it's structured socialization. Okay, next, sorry. Alliance steps up during the COVID-19. So I'll read and then I'll talk. Okay, so Alliance LHRC provides help haven to the most vulnerable New Yorkers who need a hand or require life during the COVID pandemic. During the pandemic, we reached out to our various clients and actually brought them in, and we gave out food pantry. And then we realized, and Josephine and Chasha will talk more about it, that we mailed out meal cards to our participants, and some of them were just so grateful that the agency did not forget about them, and we called them weekly. So let me read it. Demonstrate our kindness through weekly wellness phone calls to clients with words of encouragement and connection to resources. Even folks who didn't always want to answer the phone were just so grateful to have someone on the other line just checking on them. And we received just different letters and phone calls thanking us. Develop new ways to distribute and deliver food pantry packages to reduce hunger and food insecurity in these difficult times. Continue to ensure access to medications, food, and other basic needs through one-on-one counseling, harm reduction, and support through our housing program. So I'm going to ask Josie and Joshua just to jump in there and talk about what they've done.
Thanks, Miss Brenda. I just want to reiterate to everyone to say I hope you're all having a good evening and to thank you for this time. Josh and I, through food and nutrition, and definitely with a lot of Josh's help, have been here in terms of working with folks, food insecurity. The same way we know that that's been a very serious issue for a lot of the residents of Chinatown and the Lower East Side. We are seeking to meet folks where they're at. And that can mean, Miss Brenda and some of our other staff have made home deliveries, have made it a point to provide services at 25 Allen and want to as we open up on East Broadway. We have served, I think as of last week, we got about 1,000 more meals today, but we've served about 32,456 meals during the time of COVID. I want to say that that's almost double what we would normally serve in a year. And we want to do that with every facet of the community we work with. That with the Lower East Side and Chinatown, that's a big thing, that as we open up, we're excited to expand those services and continue to serve them there as we have been during the pandemic. Today, we have been receiving donations through the city and distributing them to the community at large. And today we distributed pantry and we're out in half an hour. Yeah.
Joshua? Joshua may be on mute.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay.
With the experience of working through these times and being able to help serve the communities and do this kind of outreach, especially in Chinatown, which is just trying to fill that void, and it's an amazing opportunity of what we're able to provide. I'm more of back of house now, working in finance, but ensuring that everything is processed and ensuring that all things are in order, just to make sure things are on time, has been just as crucial as all the footwork that Josephine has been doing and Brenda is doing in the back house, and same thing with Evelyn. Yeah.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Joshua. So,
You're welcome.
yeah, okay. Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center's commitment to the community. LES is proud of our 30-year history and that we are able to continue serving the same community through only a few blocks away. And as May Lee said earlier, we are so delighted that the community board, actually when I came for the first time, they were like, oh, we miss you. So we are back and we want to continue to work with you. We enjoy working with Community Board 3. Alliance has always sought to be a productive, responsible, and sensitive neighbor and member of all communities where we are located in New York City. We are respectful wherever we go. We have a history of sometimes being outstationed into other organizations, hospitals, different facilities. And the one thing that we do is we follow the rules, the regulations, and stipulations. So we consider ourselves good neighbors. We have on-site security personnel during all open hours. So at various sites, we have security staff that are present just to make sure that things go well. And we will have security at 35 East Broadway. We can offer free overdose prevention trainings for the community and have always responded to requests for assistance and are part of the New York City and the New York State Save Lives initiative. So we're very proud of that. And at some point, we'd like to offer a training to those of you who have not participated and to send you off with a Narcan kit. So we invite the community to learn more about our services and to visit us at 35 East Broadway. Lower East Side Harm Reduction's commitment to community, and one of our peers said this: Alliance let me know that just because you have health challenges doesn't mean you can't do everything. Okay, so my computer's acting up, sorry. Doesn't mean that you can't do everything you wanted to do in life. Alliance gives that type of support to people, and then we're able to go out and give that same message to others. So Brooke talked about our peer program, and we train peers. We have about 140, and so we train them, and what they learn, they go back into their communities and become the teachers of that community. And as Brooke said, we're very proud that over 30% of the individuals that work in our organization are individuals who came through our peer program. Some of them have gone back to school to get their associate's degrees, their bachelor's degrees, their master's degrees. We have one person that's ABD, all but dissertation, from Columbia University. So we're just really proud. We're really proud of our affiliations with the AIDS Institute, with the peer certification program. We're just really proud, and we want to be able to share that with the community where we're going to be located at 35 East Broadway, as we've done at 25 Allen Street. So thank you very much for allowing us to have this opportunity to present to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Amy.
Could you unshare your screen, please? Okay, so now we will take questions and answers. You can raise your hand by raising your hand in the participants box. Or if you can't, you just wave in the screen. And Larissa and I will try to catch you, and we will call on you.
Is this for the committee members only, or?
Well, they're not speaking up, so yeah. I see you have a question. No committee member has raised their hand. And since you have spoken up, Jackie, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jackie Wong. I'm a Lower East Side resident, and I understand the Harm Reduction Center is providing a lot of vital services to the neighborhood, especially right now the country is having an opiate crisis, and New York is probably hit the hardest. I just assume that. And I have two questions. I said before, I live in the Lower East Side, and I walk by your original location at Allen Street very often. And in the past, when I walk by the area, I constantly I have seen some substance using clients rest at those Allen Street malls before or after treatments. And sometimes I also see needles in the malls, but I think it's okay because the Allen Street Mall is not very widely used by local residents, and I think it's actually serve a very good spot for your patients or service recipients to use to rest. So my first question is that in the future, when you move to 35 East Broadway, where are they gonna rest, or how are you gonna address this issue? And the second question I have is that in Chinatown, I think a big problem, to be honest, I don't see a big drug issue in Chinatown, but I think we do have a very a big mental health issue. I think mental health is probably more important in Chinatown than drug abusing issues. So I'm wondering if in the future, if you would consider to bring in those kind of service. And I also have two more questions, which is very easy. Like I want to know like how long is your lease, and also no, that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
I'm going to take the question about the location. So we are educating at all our sites constantly our participants to be respectful of the neighborhood in which we live. We also educating about any kind of new issues that we find in the community and not be part of those issues. So I believe you living in a neighborhood really had show you that the mall you're talking about, the center of the street, right? Where the benches are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly one area where we had said, you can hang out in there and take a few minutes, but that's not an area of using. And that is what's happening constantly when we're doing the engagement. When there's never an engagement with our clients without a piece of education that had to do for their safety, meaning they can get arrested, right? Number two, for someone stealing whatever they have, right? That's another issue. And the more important for us is a member of Alliance, is a member of our community, and we want to encourage that respect towards us and towards the community that we work and some of our staff live in. So that's one. In terms of the point about, Ms. Brenda before mentioned security. So we will be walking the area, the corners. We will be ensuring that people are moving in once they get their services. There are other places where usually people, now we're even closer to more trains, so would allow a little bit more of splitting, right, than before. And in terms of the mental health, we do see there's a high number of mental health patients that come to us. Some of them are in treatment, not with us. And so, but this is what we have licensed social workers on staff. And that's also why we have Dr. Jeffrey as a psychiatrist and also a person that understands and is being trained in addiction. So mental health and substance use go hand in hand, but there's a lot of pockets of just mental health. So we are providing mental health and right now, and that's what we maintain at licenses. And when people have I'm going to pass in the answer to this question to my doctor, Dr. Jeffrey, but there is that correlation in which he's able to balance the health of the individual. Dr. Jeffrey, can you hear me and talk about that for a second?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the questioner that mental health issues in Chinatown are there. Certainly my late wife, that was her passion to bring mental health services. She worked at Charles B. Wang. She worked at many places. Yeah, I mean, I have about 50 patients. I work about 9 hours a week. And 3 of the patients are kind of elderly Chinese American men, one with alcohol issues and a couple with opioid issues. And, you know, they do very well. Combination, for one, it's a combination of some antidepressant medication, certainly, and we also use, you know, medication for tobacco, things like that. And, you know, I'm a real fan of buprenorphine, which is also known as Suboxone, which is a longer, it's an opioid medication to treat opioid medication-assisted treatment. It's very safe. It can be prescribed once a month. It's not like methadone where people have to go pick up 3 or 4 times a week or even up to 6 times a week. You know, we have, we want to assist people in getting on with their lives and in normalizing their lives. And for me, that's been, you know, it's been a really great thing to see how stable people have been. I mean, I started in October 2015, and quite a lot of wondering how it's going to be. And yet I've seen how the medication just stabilizes people. It's these guys, these folks, these patients, these participants are, very much like family, and you watch them, for me, the recent, Mid-Autumn Festival, talking about mooncakes, talking about, things like that. And I'm really glad that when we had to relocate, we relocated over to East Broadway. I mean, I just love that street. You walk down it and you look at the Municipal Center and the Freedom Tower in the back and the lanterns. And, this is such a great feeling. When I went there, I think it was a couple of weeks and just saw it, the feng shui, this is it. This is, for me, this is America's future. This is immigrants. My wife was a refugee, immigrants, refugees, building, giving back, and moving on. And my work with mental health and in addiction is kind of helping people restore their lives with the necessary supports. So I'm very, optimistic about the work we'll do. I work with Evelyn now for the past 3 years. She's wonderful. And the whole organization is really good. So I think, for me, this is a great fit, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Okay,
you.
Susan. Oh,
There was
Susan?
one more question. I'm so sorry. Brenda, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the lease, I didn't forget Mr. Guan, last question. I believe the lease is 10 years.
Yes. I'm sorry, I was on mute. I was answering the question, but I was on mute.
Okay,
Excuse
I
me.
want to make sure we answer his questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to ask if you're doing outreach in Sarah Delano Roosevelt Park with substance abusers. And if you are, does that include K2? And does that include mental health resources?
I'll take that. We have done the Saturday part. We actually, if we had been called at times with issues at the park, and we had sent our expert peers to take a look, and anytime in the past, whatever anybody call us that they seen some disposing of syringes illegally, we come in and clean it up. And if we encounter someone who was using it, we engage them in a conversation about how that is a risk to the community, et cetera, and engage them in our program. We do outreach. We want to partner with what the conversations that we have been having with other agencies that are doing outreach in the community, the whole, not only Community Board 3, but the Lower Manhattan, because I think that COVID-19 had brought a lot of people that are not from the community, that do not understand who's around, how to access services, etc. And we want to be part of the solution as well. And I'm sorry, Susan, what was the last question?
There's a lot of K2 youth, particularly in that park and Lower East Village, Lower East Side areas. And I'm wondering if that, if you have a lot of clients or engage a lot of clients that are using K2.
We had engaged plenty of clients in the past that were using K2, and actually one of the challenges that we encountered was that we didn't know much about where the people were at. So part of our strategy when we do outreach and using the peers is actually to find out from the individuals that they encounter using, or they say that that's what they're using, where they get it, where they go, so that we have a better map of what's really happening. And then we share that information and begin to create strategies for outreach to reach out those areas. So yes, we have dealt with not seeing stuff as much, just to let you know. Thank you.
But Evelyn, I think it's important to say it's not the folks who actually come in to the center, but they're
We go
people
out.
that you're being asked to go out. So they're not
Yeah.
individuals. That's not our audience.
Yeah.
Jackie?
Yes, I remember the final question I have. So before you decide to rent 35 East Broadway, were you aware there are 2 other centers already located on the other side of the street? And also I want to know if you are aware of any other centers or similar type of entities is also moving to East Broadway or that particular block.
So I can start and Evelyn can.
Yeah.
And so we knew of the Lower East Side Service Center, but their service, they offer a different service than we do. I don't know about any new center that's coming, but they're a methadone clinic. That's not what we do.
Okay.
We don't offer methadone.
Yeah, thank you. There's no other center. I want to mention this. We had partnered for years with I don't know if you know, but Housing Works is on all the way in the east side, and they're also providing some similar service than we do, but they're all the way. And they have a clinic that also we use as a referral source to get the clients there. So we had partnered with them for years. They are also they're addressing various different issues just like us. So yeah, that's who I know that is also helping us and helping the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
May, I don't have a question, but just one thing. We did have someone come into the meeting. The ID was IQ. I just changed you to name ? If you could please introduce yourself in the chat. Thank you.
Alicia?
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the presentation. That was very informative. I just wanted to emphasize that no one has made any reference to the fact that people that are non-IV drug users can also drop off their medical needles there at the drop site. As I am a diabetic and I often have to use those drop boxes because my pharmacist will not receive an abundant amount of my needles after I'm finished using my diabetic needles. So I often have to use those drop boxes in various places in the city to drop off my needles. And so I just want to emphasize that they're also used for medical reasons as well.
Absolutely.
I
thank you so much.
Yeah,
so sorry.
I was going to say that, and we also have a drop back box at our 64 West 35th Street site. We have a huge kiosk, and we can send you a listing of all the places that you can drop syringes off. Actually, people drop off their expired syringes because syringes do expire. They drop off their syringes that they use for their cats, for diabetes, folks who inject hormones, like when women are trying to get pregnant, they have syringes. So yes, we have drop boxes, and we will send you information on where you can drop your syringes off at our different sites. And they are retrieved by a company. There's a company that comes to retrieve them and takes them away. So I'm sorry, I meant to mention that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. I never even knew that. Thank you so much, Brenda.
You're welcome.
Well, actually, speaking of drop boxes, I mean, the last time you came to the meeting, that was one of the things we were talking about, but we couldn't settle on, or you or we or somebody couldn't settle on what the site would be, or we're still thinking about it. So is there, on Allen Street, the drop box used to be in front of the door, right? On Allen Street or nearby somewhere?
Right.
In front of the door.
Yeah, currently our drop box is located up at our Washington Heights site. We still haven't found a place to put it, but we will let you know. But it's up at our Washington Heights site.
So you have one for all the sites?
Well, we haven't found a location for it yet. So it is, taking up space there until we get the location, but we will let you know.
Okay.
We still gonna do the same process and work with the community board 3, like I was doing before. So sending you pictures of the areas that we are considering so that it can be reviewed. So right now, our urgency had been to open up, to provide tours, to let people know that we are here. And then we'll do that. But yes, it will be just the same process as we did before May with suggestion for the drop-offs.
Okay, great. Any other questions? No? Okay, so you
I just
mentioned.
want to know,
Oh, go ahead, Alicia. No, go ahead, Alicia.
I'm sorry, I don't have my hand raised. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead. Oh.
What are the major concerns community about? What are the major concerns about the community in the Harm Reduction Center?
Can you repeat that again? What are the major
concerns from the community about the Harm Reduction Center being in Chinatown?
I think it's probably the fear of the unknown, and so that's why we want to educate and teach that, you know, Narcan is a life-saving medication. Concern about security, which we do have security, and we have security at all of our sites. So I think, you know, sometimes when something is not familiar, you know, people are nervous, but I want to say what we've said in various places. We want to be good neighbors. We want to invite you into the center so that you can see how we function. And sometimes after that happens, you know, their fears subside. So seeing is believing. So we have to invite you in so you can see our space and see what we do.
Jackie, your hand is up, or was that from before?
No, it's a new hand. I just want to share a little bit of thought on Alicia's question. Is the problem is not about the center being in Chinatown? I think my original concern is that because I walk by the original center on Allen Street a lot, and I also have seen the patients resting in the Allen Street malls, and the concern I have is not really the center being in Chinatown. It's right next to the library, because that library you have several hundred of students use every day, and also on that block on one end you have a kindergarten, on the other hand you have PS2, and right across the street you already have 2 other centers. So I didn't know that the center provide a security, all that kind of things. So my original concern is that how the patients or the substance or overdose patients, where are they going to rest in the future, and how are they going to interact with the students? That is my concern. I still have the concern after hearing from you, but I think I'm hoping that the security guard in place would make sure that like everybody is safe. So that is my concern. So it's not really that the center being in Chinatown. The concern is that the center being right next to a library, and also in between several schools, and also there's already like 2 centers across the street. Are we turning East Broadway into a hub or not? So that is the concern I have. If I address Alicia.
Sure.
And Jackie, I'll put my email in the chat box, but please feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to give you a tour in the weeks to come, so you can check us out. The library as another community space, we did reach out to them to start to build partnerships as their new neighbor. So we're very aware of the space, and we definitely want to be cognizant of that as we move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, the library, you know, libraries are not just books anymore, right? There's a lot of programming there. So, you know, I hope that your organization, the Alliance for Positive Change, can you know, see, you know, I mean, talk to them about their patrons. And I mean, most of their patrons are Chinese actually, but you know, if there's some kind of education or programming that you could provide to their patrons. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of, right now, a lot of it is still virtual, and I think it'll be virtual for a long time. So maybe even if you start there, it might be good.
Great suggestion.
That's something that we'd be willing to do, because we do a lot of virtual training now. So we're familiar with that, and we will.
Susan?
Yeah, since everyone's talking about the library, I just wanted to mention, which I probably already know, when we get past the virtual stage, I know a lot of times homeless people will take refuge in libraries. So it's often, I would think it'd be a good place for outreach also.
Sure. We will comply.
Anybody else? Yeah, I think, you know, I think, I mean, this is a good conversation start. I know you said you were having a site visit sometime in October for very few people.
Yes.
You know, that's the way things are now. And I think in Chinatown, we just have to, you know, we have to look, we can't just be afraid of people hanging out, you know, if they're not doing anything harmful, you know, so yeah, it's just something that we have to think about. And it would be good to know, you know, think about what other services. I mean, it is more in the center of the Chinese community, so it's good for, you know, Alliance for Positive Change to think about, you know, the exact type of services that are needed. I mean, mental health is a big issue, like Jackie said, it's more of an issue now. There is substance abuse that manages it. You know, the mental health issues manifest themselves in different ways. So, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there.
And we do intend to collaborate with Charles B. Wang. When it was Chinatown Health Clinic, and I worked at Juvenile Hospital, there was a lot of collaboration with them. So that's one of the facilities we plan to collaborate with.
Yeah, there's also one of the settlement houses that's closer to there. It's called Hamilton Madison House. So they have a pretty big substance abuse and mental health counseling program.
Yeah, we've
been already. So it'd be good to touch base with them.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Anything else? All right. If there are no other questions, we will then move on to our next agenda item.
We just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. This is just the beginning for us. At least this is the beginning. We want to integrate ourselves. So we will be talking, doing tours and listening. Any questions can be addressed to us. And like Brooke mentioned, we will be happy to reply and create a tour or provide information, whatever is needed.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay,
thank you so very much. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So our next agenda item is the good old district needs statement. You are all welcome. Those of you who are not on the committee are welcome to stay. But you know, I know you're very busy, so you're also free to go.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Okay.
And we look forward to seeing you in the center.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's time for, so our next two agenda items are district needs and budget priorities. We will discuss the district needs first. I sent everyone a draft, and it is it should include we are voting on this tonight. Okay, so it includes all the changes that have been discussed. There may be some statistics that need to be updated, but we don't know. I thought the senior citizens needed to be updated.
Oh, maybe senior citizens, I'm sorry.
Yeah, maybe something like that, updated from last year. So don't worry about that, because you'll probably see a comment in the side. We can still update it, after we vote on it. And even after full board votes on it, right? I mean, we might do some last minute updating. So as long as you agree that those statistics should be there, then, that's fine. So let's go over the district needs statement again, section by section, see if we have any additional changes, and then we will vote on it. Is someone, Larissa, did you want to show something? Or so Larissa and Thomas, you could, or one of you could, Thomas, you could use the Google Doc.
I can share it if you'd like. No worries, I can share.
Okay, you can share it, and then is Thomas still here?
Yes, I'm on the Google Doc right now in case you need.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so we're going
so I've
to.
got it up. Everyone should be able to see it.
Okay, so we are going to, okay, so I will walk you through again, through the different sections. I think for education, so for education, we don't think we made any major changes. Well, does anyone have anything else to add to the education as they see it now?
No, I don't.
There's 4 sections: social workers, technology, after school programs, and the need for a new school.
Good.
Okay. Okay, so the education and youth are actually combined into one section. So the other thing is about the unmet needs in the youth programs. So we have 3 bullet points. First one is about the facility maintenance and sort of the contradictions about being located in NYCHA. Some other contradictions about families no longer qualified for programs because of the outdated income requirements. Oh, and I just learned last week, that's just for now, I think, that if you are unemployed right now, you can, there are seats in some Head Start programs, and you should, if you need a Head Start program, you should try to go for it now. I was told that by Hamilton Madison House, who runs a Head Start program. But in general, the problem with these Head Start programs is that their income requirements are outdated, and so they're too low, so that we have a lot of low-income families who are not qualified for them because they're still too low. Their income requirements are too low.
And David has his hand raised.
Yes, David?
It's not a substantive comment, but I wanted to compliment whoever has formatted this. It's very readable. It's even elegant. The one that we had before looked like it had been beaten on with the ugly stick. But anyway, it's just, this is very nice. I like it a lot. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, and then the other thing was about the pay disparities. So we had, so there was a legislation that was a question we asked last time, because there was legislation that was passed last year to take effect this year, allowing for pay parity between youth programs that are funded by the Department of Education, or early childhood programs funded by Department of Education, that's school-based, or by DYCD. Usually if you work for a school-based program funded by DOE, you make more money than the same teachers who work for the DYCD funded programs. So there was legislation passed to make them, ensure the pay parity. However, there are also Head Start programs which are federally funded, and we were saying that those Head Start programs are not covered by this law. This law only covers the city-funded programs. So what we're saying is that pay parity is also needed for Head Start programs. Okay. So the next one is, does anyone have anything about, any comments on this? Okay, so the next one is on senior citizens. So all those statistics and all those bullet points, they're just straight from last year, and they probably just need a little updating. I think this is the same as what we had last time. Any questions about the senior citizen section? I don't see any hands raised right now. Okay, we can move on to the health section. So in the health section, this is the same. We talked about, one of the questions we had was about increased use in substance abuse, increased or decreased substance abuse. No, that's the same as last time. It's somewhere near the bottom. So so Susan did call the Education Alliance to see if there were additional statistics, data, especially after the pandemic started. So that's, this year. But also, right, she's told that there isn't, and the latest is last year. Yeah, and Ricky also said that it takes a while to get the updated stuff out. There's a big time lag for many reasons. So what we did is, Susan found something, this issue brief from the American Medical Association, which reports an increase in opioid related mortality since the COVID-19 pandemic started. So they just, looked at a lot of media reports and, reports from different organizations across the country and compiled this issue brief. They didn't have anything specific to our neighborhood. Actually, they found a big uptick in a lot of counties in upstate New York. But so this is, so those bullet points are the same as last year, and they came from a report from the Education Alliance about, some general observations about this issue. So I've kept it as it is. Yeah, and also I think the American Medical Association report said the opioid related mortality was due to, they called it, this is not like manufactured fentanyl or something. That's not manufactured, but I forgot what it's called. But that was especially concerning. So that's why I left the 4th paragraph in there. Any questions? Oh, thank you, Jackie. Any questions about this section? Seeing none, we will move on. The next section is on food security. It's been updated a little bit, it's the same food security paragraph as last time, except it's been just a little bit updated with, we took out all the stuff about how, Trader Joe's hasn't opened yet, and, because Trader Joe's will be open next year, and they're open now. But Eric included a statistic about, the projected skyrocketing food insecurity, which is pretty astounding. So we added that in the beginning. So that the issue of food security is going to be an ongoing problem for quite some time and well into next year as well. So we have some solutions on the bottom. Any questions? Okay, if I don't see any, so we will move on to the homeless population. So a lot has been added. Hey, Susan,
And we just changed about the police officers and security. We changed that because the police department's no longer involved. And I'm trying to think, most of it is the same. And we just, we didn't have hard stats, but we put in the mention for need for mental health services.
Okay.
Are we commenting on like grammatical errors that made something nonsense?
Yes, you should comment.
Yes.
Okay, earlier there have been crossed out no plan to, but without that, those words are some substitute there. You need something there.
Oh, there. That's correct, and we talked about it last time. And to be honest, I'm glad you spotted that. I couldn't remember exactly what the comments were from last time.
Well, the comment, Larissa said something about flat, but that didn't make sense either.
I know. I read that comment and I didn't know what it meant. So what we're trying to say is the city has no plan to deal with this, and people wanted better wording. And so if you could suggest something, that would be good.
So what's wrong with the word plan, which makes
That's
sense?
That's what I put in, and you're saying
Yeah.
it didn't make sense. So
I said delete. I see a delete.
it shouldn't be there. I don't know why it shouldn't be there. It was the thing that was there before. So that should be removed. And if you're happy with that, we're good.
So put the plan, put plan back in.
Yeah.
All right.
It's true, they have no plan, right, Susan?
Correct.
Okay.
I have a very hard time editing in Google.
Yeah, it is the worst. I agree.
Okay, so we got that one solved. Thank you.
Okay. Next. There's a lot more about shelters and supportive housing, and this is where you.
This is pretty much all the same.
Okay. And that's it. And a little bit.
That's it.
That's it, yes. Any other questions? Okay, so why don't we go to budget priorities, and then when we have the order that we want of the budget priorities, then we can vote on everything together, right?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, so now we're going to look at the budget priorities.
Okay, you should be seeing my screen now.
Yes, we see it.
Do you want me to give my little intro to that or no?
Yes.
Okay, so particularly for new people, and just kind of a reminder, I think May sent out the little explanation about budget priorities, but just in case. So every year we vote on ranked list of 25 expense budget priorities and 40 capital for city agencies. And the agencies that this committee looks at, which is more than any other committee, is Children's Services, Youth and Community Development, Human Resources, Homeless Services, and Health and Mental Hygiene, and Department for the Aging. So we look, for this committee, we look at expense priorities, which are issues like programming or staffs for an agency. And the goal of these priorities is to bring more services and money to Community Board 3 for the needs that we decide are most important. Therefore, for programs well-funded and not in danger, we wouldn't make it a priority because we're already getting those services. These are for city agencies. It does not include funding lines from city council funds or for state or federal funds that may be administered by agencies. And I won't go into all the background we've done, but we've done incredible research on all of these, along with the committee chair and the office. We've met all the Manhattan community boards together, have met with all of the agencies. And I should mention 2 of the members on the committee are expert in this and have been on the agency side meeting with the community boards. So it's very important to rank the priorities because we only get 25. So something on the bottom may drop off the list. And after all the committees rank their priorities, they're collated together and then presented to the full board to vote on one list. And that's kind of the simple explanation, unless anyone has anything they'd like to either add or ask. Ricky and Heidi, anything you want to add?
I do have one question in the education. There were 2 requests from the same school for different wiring projects, one for air conditioning in the gym and the air conditioning in the, here we are, under DOE capital. For PS 63, there's electric wiring upgrade for the 4th floor gym and electric wiring for the auditorium. Can those 2 be combined for one ask?
I wouldn't do that. We got these from CEC and they work really closely with School Construction Authority. So I know so this is, since we got them this way from CEC, I would assume that that this is the way it should be. I've also passed this list before School Construction Authority for them to check it. And Larissa, that's actually one of the kinds of things on the other ones that we checked a lot to see, you know, what we combine or what had its own budget line.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the CEC, the school district
ahead,
actually already made those requests. Mm-hmm. So, so we're supporting them, you know, since we also have some say in this budget, or, we're supporting them in what they're saying. So they make, it's by the project. So it's like 2 different projects and 2 different requests. And those are the top 7. So we talked to School District 2 because we talked to CEC 1, which is all of School District 1 in the Lower East Side. And then some of the Chinatown schools are in School District 2. So we asked them about the Chinatown schools in their district. So we came out with with those 6.
And, just to say.
And it's exactly in the order that they said.
Yeah. And I did show them the School Construction Authority and asked them to check to make sure nothing was already funded, because we've made that mistake in the past. And they did give us the information. None of these projects are funded.
And I think we, Susan, you said, we get a lot of, in terms of the whole board, we get quite a lot of capital items. So we're not in danger of anything falling out later, right?
We get 40,
in terms of our list.
We get 40 capital items. So I don't think we ever have a full 40.
Okay.
So it's the expense ones that are really important to rank. For the capital, you know, as May said, this is the way that CEC already prioritized them when they gave them to us. So the ones where you really need to do the work are the expense ones, which I think May is, they're not, the list in front of you is not ranked. They're listed, they're categorized or by agency. Is that how you did it, May?
Well, okay, so the way, well, it is by agency, but the way it works out is that each category, each priority is specific to a certain population. You know, it is a certain agency, but it's also a certain population. So I've grouped it into 3 general populations: the seniors, the homeless, and the youth. So the youth, it's actually, you could say 2. Well, in this case, it's only 1 agency, but it could potentially also include the Department of Education, but in this case, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So we
worry about the agency.
Yeah, so right, but they are related to a certain agency as well. So we also put them in a suggested priority order. So seniors, for example, does S1 and S2. So S1 is related, for example, to the food, you know, and the meals, and 2 is related to the NORCs. So of course it's all important, but you know, but they just need food. So it's you know, some of that kind of thinking went into it, but you know, and when you break it down by population, there are fewer variables to consider. So what we should do is put them in order. You can take, you know, a few from each group, or you can, you know, as many from each group as you want, but the groupings hopefully make it easier to think about, as opposed to just a straight list without it being categorized. So maybe, you know, we can, or we can look at each category again and see if you rank each category first.
Does anyone want to see anything in particular up on the screen? Just let me know.
I'm going to
You
suggest
can also
we
open
start
your
at the
own
top
document.
and just go down.
Okay. So, okay, let me go over this. Okay, maybe that would be helpful. So so for seniors, there are 2 priorities. Okay, the first one is related to funding for meals and kitchen staff salaries in the senior centers and home delivered meals. Okay, so this is all about food delivery to their home or at the senior center. And then the second one is related to NORCs. That's the naturally occurring retirement communities. Those are the, you know, providing supportive services so that they age in place at the NORCs. And, you know, many of the NORCs are, you know, some of them are in buildings. Some of them are across the neighborhood, like the one that Carmen runs. But they provide a variety of health and social services. Some of them have nurses, some of them have social workers. And they really, you know, let the seniors, you know, age in their homes. So it's, you know, expanding the funding for both, increasing funding. So the next 3 are related to homelessness. So H1 is something we had from last year. Increased staff funding for social workers and guidance counselors in the schools with high homeless populations. So it's about homeless students in the schools. And then last year we asked that we, you know, talked about this Bridging the Gap program. So there was some funding that was provided, but it wasn't to any of the schools in our area. I think they were only in the Bronx. So okay, so then the second one is this voucher program. Susan, did you have something about the FEPS?
This is the FEPS. The city has now combined all their vouchers into one voucher program, and that's what this is.
Okay. So these are the vouchers that, they're like rental assistance vouchers, right?
Yes, so that it's for people to go out and get apartments.
Mm-hmm. So it's to increase funding so that for either more vouchers, I mean, I don't know how they would do it if they got increased funding, they can give more vouchers for the same number of people or more vouchers to more people, but it needs more funding.
They need both.
They need both, yes. We need everything. Okay, so the third one is funding for more safe haven beds and stabilization beds. So as you know, we have a crisis with the homeless population, and these safe haven beds really provide an important, they've been effective. And I think that was in our ask from last year as well, right?
That was is exactly the same as last year.
And then something new we learned about this year, it's not new, but pay parity for anti-eviction lawyers. So lawyers who work for
They're
the
nonprofit.
who work for the nonprofit work versus those who work for the housing court, they're not paid the same?
Well, it's not housing court, it's the nonprofits like Mobilization for Justice and those groups provide, they have a contract to provide lawyers, but the amount of money they can pay is so low that they have a hard time recruiting lawyers.
Oh, it's not like another, it's not like DOE and DYCD. It's just really low, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, it is very low. So we put, so these are the four related to homelessness. And then the only two related to schools and youth are increasing funding for the after school programs. And then the second one is for SYEP. So as you can see,
can I make a suggestion for two that I think should be ranked very high?
Yes.
I think under the seniors, the senior meals, especially considering during this pandemic, the food insecurity across all populations has increased.
Mm-hmm.
And the safe haven beds, because we are experiencing high rate of homelessness. People are losing their jobs. I think those two items should be ranked at the top. Just my opinion.
Okay. All right. So look at this. Okay. So just within the categories, you're saying seniors is at the top compared to NORCs. And how about within the homelessness categories? Would you say that the safe haven beds is at the top?
I would, yes.
Okay.
What did Heidi say?
I said, yeah, safe havens, I think for me, I wrote that down as my number one.
Okay, so just go ahead, David.
I was going to say, I'm not against either of these suggestions that have just come up, but I want to remind us that this is for the city budget that would be passed next year and would go into effect in July. So if it is a short-term thing, that's not a reason to put it up high. And I'm just reminded of this because Larissa said something about, this COVID has caused. I mean, I think that problem is probably going to be ongoing. But if there's some strictly COVID need that needs to be done now, it does not belong in this.
Thank you. This I should have mentioned that in the beginning. This is for the fiscal year starting next July.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, but I think these are going to be ongoing. I think there's going to be a ripple effect after the pandemic. that it's going to take us a lot longer to recover from the economic crisis after COVID. So I think these are going to be two areas where we're going to need to see continued funding. It's my opinion. Not just COVID related, just post-COVID as well.
Okay, so does everyone, okay, so those two suggestions, moving, okay, just within seniors, keeping the meals as S1, but and then in homelessness, changing the safe haven beds to H1. Any objections? Comments about that? If I don't hear anything, it means you all think it's a good idea.
Yes, it's a good idea.
Looks good.
Okay. Is there any?
Okay.
Yes.
No, go ahead. I would like to advocate for another high rank one, be the social workers and guidance counselors in the schools with homeless students.
Okay, so within homelessness, can we say that the second one, so in homelessness, the first one will be safe haven beds, and then the second one will be social workers? Is that what you're saying, Susan?
Yes.
Okay, does everyone have any objections to that?
No, I have a question about how we did this last year. I feel like David set up a really good system of when we were moving things around and how that went. I can't quite remember. I'm just foreseeing, like, if we do this each one by one, it seems like it's going to take a really long time. And last year we set up this system where it's like we move this or we move that. I don't know. Maybe this is the same thing.
We could do that in the end but you know, I felt that just so that people don't have to consider too many variables at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, because if you just move them all together, then you could be considering like 4 variables.
Right.
You know, housing, homeless, seniors, and food. What's more important, food or housing? You know, so this is where we're just comparing populations.
Okay.
Comparing each population and their needs, and then we can do the other thing.
So first, we're doing just within one population, get that ranking set, and then we're going to collate them all across. Sounds good.
Yes. Okay, so within the homelessness population, is any more moving around? So we have number 1 is safe havens, number 2 is the social workers, number 3 is the FEPs, and number 4 is the pay parity for the anti-eviction lawyers.
Looks good.
Okay. So finally, with schools and youth, there's only 2.
I think there's 6 for that one. It goes on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. There are, yes. Oh no, there are 6, okay.
If I could just remind when CEC came and spoke to us, they mentioned that they thought after-school programs were one of the highest priorities needed for the schools.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, and then I remember them talking about SYEP, that we should not take it for granted.
Absolutely.
And that it was like the first thing they cut, that, you know, it's always been something that's always been very easily funded, you know, but you know, they thought it might happen again next summer.
I think that's really, really important because it took the, you know, a tremendous amount of advocacy to get it back this year.
And then it didn't really even come back as it, you know, should have. So, because
Correct.
it was too late, right? Yeah. So.
Well, and they also didn't have the money.
Right, they didn't have the money. So the third one is for nurses. The fourth one is, they're similar. Beacon programs are community center type programs, but they're based in the school. Cornerstone programs or community programs are based in NYCHA housing. So these programs run a variety of programs. A lot of it is for children. They also have some adult programs too, but there's a lot of youth programs, and it's all like, you know, not during the school time.
Can I ask a question about the nurses? What keeps there from being every school having a full-time nurse? Is it their pay? Is there not as enough trained nurses?
It's mostly the pay.
Who's that?
It's Ricky. It's mostly the
Ricky?
pay.
Okay.
Yeah, we when I was at DOH, part of the funding for school nurses was half from DOH, half from the DOE. And when a registered nurse or nurse practitioner could, you know, potentially get a better position, you know, work in a hospital or a clinic, the pay parity was always a huge difference, and that was the issue that they had staffing for, you know, for schools. So that's what was consistently the issue.
Thanks, Ricky.
Right, so those working for the schools, who work for the hospitals made more, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So it is more funding, so those that working for the school can get paid more. It's the same.
Yeah, otherwise they lose them. They, you know, they get trained
yeah.
and they go someplace else.
Correct.
That being the case, I think this order makes sense to me anyway.
Any other comments?
What is 1 and 2? What is 1 and 2?
1 and 2?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so are we saying we leave this as it is? Are there any objections to doing that?
No.
No? Yeah, okay. I don't see any hands raised. Carmen, do you have something to say? Are you able to say it?
Oh, sorry. I put in the chat that the department, the city council's aging committee had a hearing with DIF not too long ago. It was like a couple of weeks ago. And so they were talking about next year's budget and what's going to be the needs moving forward, particularly for senior programs, senior centers. They didn't talk about NORCs all that much, but they were talking about the senior centers. So it's just a matter of that they're also keeping in mind how things are progressing or not. And so given, you know, what may or may not happen in the next couple of months, that I guess they're playing it mostly by ear before they earmark anything looking forward.
You mean for next year? Oh, go ahead, Susan.
We were told by DIFTA that all the senior centers will be funded next year.
Oh yeah, no, it was nothing about cutting funding for sure, but it was as far as asking for additional funding.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Carmen, did you have any other comments about the senior section?
No, it looks okay as of now.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have all these sections, and now we will collate them. We're open for comments.
What I think we might want to do, since we've got these sections, we could take the top one from each one and just, then we're only talking about 4 at a time. And we'll say, oh, the youth one, that's our top one. And then we would start considering S2 or, you know, whatever, the next youth item with the other 3. That way we will be only comparing 4 things at a time, but how many categories are there? I forgot. That approach could work. What's going to be hard is scrolling up and down all the time.
Yeah, can we make it smaller maybe so that we could see more at once?
Susan is clearly has younger eyes than I do. Now that I know what they are, I can probably remember just by looking at it.
Well, we do only have 3 sections, so I think, yeah, I agree with David. If we took the top one of each of our groups and voted the order for those 3, and then drop down to the second and third. I mean, some obviously the school and youth have many more items, and they're going to drop to the bottom. So we need to keep in mind that.
Well, if we honestly have decided that we've got the school youth ones in order, then we only need to consider the top one of those 6 at a time. So we'd look at, you know, what do we use? Y, is it Y for youth? Y1, and then once Y1 gets put on the list, we're now looking at Y2 along with the S and H ones. I mean, maybe you want to actually just copy the current 3 candidates above, so we can only be looking at the 3 at a time. Is that, no, it's a lot of editing on the fly.
No, you mean what are the top 3?
Yeah, S1, H1, and Y1.
Oh.
If you could do them, then we'll go, okay, well, that one is the first one, and then, you know, we'll sort of have we'll end up with the ordered list on the top. In the middle, we'll have the 2 or 3 that we're considering, and then below we'll have the hopper.
Okay, it's being done.
Okay. This will be helpful. Now we can visually see the 3 that we're considering.
Larissa's very nimble.
She must be on a different computer than she used to be on, because I've tried to use her computer before, and she warned me, don't touch it, it'll blow up, and it did. I was like, I know how to use a computer.
I have the same computer, unfortunately, but I'm just on it so much more now. Get a lot of practice.
Well, as I recall, I was on the verge of mansplaining to you. It's like, I know how to use a computer. More accurately, it was more like the man thing about not being able to ask for directions to get to somewhere. Hello.
Yeah, well, if you're a Mac user, I would call it Max-splaining instead of mansplaining, but I'm a PC gal, so, and I like my touch screen.
I'd like to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded.
Yes, thank you, May.
Okay, so we have our top 3 here.
Recorded and put on the community board website.
Okay, so no Max-splaining to the PC gal. All right, so we have increased funding, which is our senior number 1. We have increased funding for Safe Haven, which is homelessness number 1, and increased funding for the after school, which is youth number 1. I can make those bigger if anybody needs that. And I gotta, oh, sorry, hold on a second. Let me just grab a little bit more for the youth. All right, so we have our top three.
So now, if someone wanted to advocate for one of those three to be the very top.
I have my hand raised. This is Deborah.
Oh, sorry, Deborah.
That's what David just said. We're going to start advocating for how to move what should be at the top.
Yeah, out of those three that just got moved to the top.
The top three.
Yeah, I mean, I would advocate for the youth to be at the top because, I mean, it's impossible to just who needs it more or whose priorities are more critical. They're all critical, but I think thinking about youth, I'm just sort of looking forward to youth as the future, and especially since schools are in such a disarray right now in terms of their priority. I don't know. I'm just sort of feeling like the youth are the future, and I think that should be first. But that's
Okay, so yeah. So you mean the after-school programs, right?
yeah. Because that also supports parents and it supports the families because the kids have, you know, I don't know. I think that the kids, caring for the kids means that it frees up the parents to take care of other things that they need to take care of.
Okay. Paul Rangel?
Yep.
Paul?
I second everything Deborah just said. I'd move schools right up to number one.
Okay, yeah, the youth programs, okay. David, were you going to say something?
Say it's super hard, but the idea of people starving is tugs at my heartstrings.
So that'll be number two. I don't know. Oh, I see. The seniors?
Yeah, this is Tati. I was gonna, I am also struggling too. I kind of think that the senior food should be first. Food security is just, I think, one of the major issues and going to be for a long time. So I'm wondering if we should put that one first, youth second. But those are my thoughts.
Well, let me say, once we put whichever of these three put to the top, we won't immediately choose number overall 2. We will go down and dig out the second item of the category that we just eliminated. So, but anyway.
So these top three are not in danger of dropping off, if that's what your concern is, Tati.
Oh, okay. Okay. In that case, I agree with the youth being first, I think.
Okay.
Priority is also important other than just dropping off because, you know, if you have something very near the top as opposed to the bottom, it's making a statement.
And then in the end, this is collated with the other committees' budget priorities. So, but our order is preserved. So, for example, a parks, program priority could be inserted anywhere in here, but our order is still maintained. So the order of that each committee voted on is maintained. So that's in the collation process. All right, so we're saying youth, seniors, and then the social workers for the homeless students. Eric?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I think because I'm still a little unclear for the after-school programs, how soon it's. I know this is for 2021, right? May this is for.
Yes.
So I would prioritize because I see senior meals and senior centers, home delivered meals being something that could be implemented and needed for the next 2-3 years. And, I would prioritize senior meals. And then, yeah, that's what out of the two.
I keep hearing this idea that S1 might be the first one and then Y2 would be the second one. It's possible that S2 would be our second one. we are choosing one out of these three to be total number one. And then we're going to go out and put number two from the category that just bumped up. And we'll be now considering three others, right? We're not going to order these three and then go find number two from the all three lists and order those. We shouldn't, because then we'll end up with the possibility that S1 and S2 were really our top priorities.
No, what we're saying is these three are at the top.
Yeah.
No, we're not. Why wouldn't S2 be able to go above H1?
Well, these are our three top priorities.
So we pick the very top of these three, and that becomes total number one. And then let's say that is S1. Then we'll say, well, what's our number two? We will choose from between H1, Y1, and S2.
Right.
Then so from those three, we'll choose our overall number two. It is the fastest way to do it, Susan. Go ahead and do that, but it is the fastest way and fairest way to get everything allowed to be in the right order.
Oh, and May, we have two people who've raised their hand. We've got Paul and Thomas.
Thomas?
Just on behalf of the youth, obviously I would want to see it as a higher priority. I myself have worked in programs that have seen kids later on as a result of the after school specifically, not only bringing some kind of relief to the households, but them able to build marketable skills and then become more financially viable just because of the degree of care that they experience in some of these programs. So I just think a continuity of that also diminishes the amount of homelessness in the future.
Okay, Paul?
Not so much anything I'm advocating for, but since we're kind of stuck between two number ones here, how about we just do a raise hand vote on who wins out on the rank?
I'm with that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking we should vote pretty soon. Now that, everybody has had something to say. All right. Okay, so let's say how many people vote for youth, the after-school program be number one?
Sorry, I have a question before we vote. So I'm just confused because we're just voting on these three priorities, or are we voting on the order that David suggested as well? Because that
we're voting on which is the most important of these three. Of these three, which is the most important?
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, so we're having difficulty doing that right now. So we're just going to vote. Okay, so how many say that the youth after-school programs is the most important? You can raise your hand. We'll count. What kind of hand are you raising?
Both.
Two people raised their hand. Paul and Deborah raised their hands.
And Thomas.
And Thomas, okay.
Everyone should raise their hand on the actual Zoom feature.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole lot easier. I've been in meetings where it just becomes a disaster. If someone doesn't know how to raise their hand, let's help that person figure it out. Okay. I hope it's possible on the cell phone.
Since I'm presenting, it's kind of complicated. I've got so many things going on.
Paul, Thomas, and Deborah. Raise your hand, Deborah. Okay. Okay, so there's three people. Paul, Thomas, and Deborah say that youth is the highest. How many people for, I also say the youth actually, so I'm 4. Okay, how many people for the senior meals? That should be the top. Okay, it's Carmen, Ricky, and Eric Diaz.
And Larissa.
And Larissa.
And David too.
And David.
David. Okay, so that was 5 people.
There's 6. There's 6.
6? Yeah. Okay, so the senior meals. goes to the top.
Actually, there were 7. One person needs to keep the count, and Larissa was not able to raise her hand, but Larissa was also in that number.
Okay, so let's do the senior meals again. It was Larissa, Ricky, Eric, Carmen, David, Heidi. Senior meals, Tatiana, senior meals, Tatiana?
Yep, that's what I have my hand up for.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 7. All right, so then it is senior meals.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to move up senior 2, correct?
Yeah.
To these 3. David, yes?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So these are the 3 that we will be voting on for spot number 2 on our priority list. Homeless 1, youth 1, and senior 2.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused. So we had 3 items that rose to the top as items 1, 2, and 3 that we were voting on for what is going to be the top. If we felt like each of those things were worthy of being considered as number 1, then if we're going to look at different items to place in number 2, I guess I don't understand why we wouldn't use the other 2 things.
So Deborah, we actually only chose number 1, and now those other 2 are still here, H1 and Y1.
Okay.
And now we're going to decide which of these 3 are going to be overall number 2. It is possible that S2 will be the one that we all vote on next, or it's possible that we'll all vote on Y1. We didn't choose the top 3 earlier. We chose the top 1 out of what happened in the top 1 of each of the 3 categories.
I'll just follow along. Okay,
But if you were a fan of H1 or Y1, you now get to vote for that to be number 2.
Okay, okay, good, because I thought that we were then going to go and look at 3 other things to look at as possibilities for number 2, not considering the 2 things that were there as potential number 1. Okay.
We'll always be looking at 3 things, but among the 3, we're going to choose 1 to bump up, and then we'll pull something from below and
Great.
still have
Thank
3.
you. Thank you
Cool.
for clarifying.
Yeah, because the youth has so many different items, we may want to put one of those higher up on the priority. But we'll get the opportunity.
Okay, so now we're considering which one is the top. Is it funding for after-school programs, the social workers in the schools for the homeless students, or the NORCs?
I'm sorry, what? You
Deborah
mentioned
has her
social
hand up. Do you
students?
still have your hand up?
Oh.
We have 3 hands raised, May.
I'm sorry, that was from earlier. I'll put it down.
Okay, so 2, Tatiana.
And Paul, yeah.
And Paul.
That's also from earlier for me, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Paul?
Yeah, if I wanted schools at number 1 before, why is that going to change? Now I want it at least number 2.
We have 2 hands raised.
Eric?
David and Eric, yeah.
Oops, sorry, I was talking. I would want to, I probably would want to round out the senior part. These are the only 2 senior priorities on the whole list, right? Like after this, there's no more. I would round it out and put Norks at number 2, and then after that start going into the youth direction. Yeah, that's where I'm looking at, and it's hard to compare good against good, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to agree with Eric. I'm gonna definitely advocate for what's mine. So I'll definitely just wanted to put the NORC up there.
David?
Yeah, I was gonna advocate for one for the actually, but I don't know the details of why the NORC funding is so critical. I do know that the after school programs are always in danger and they are needed. Maybe I need to be educated here.
I could chime in a little bit. I know that there's a whole senior center, you know, kind of in the air moving forward for the next 3 years. I know DIFTA had a big committee meeting and they're still figuring out when to launch that officially. It may not begin until 2022, but they put the RFP out for like this top of 2021, but that and plus the NORC RFPs haven't even been announced yet in the concept papers. So there's still a lot of things in the air on funding for and implementing the NORC and the senior centers in the next year. So I think we gotta let them know that we need that in place, you know, on the city council side to fund it. That's kind of the extent that I understand right now at the city level regarding NORCs. And then there's only about like not even 10 actual NORCs in our district. And we know the seniors are the vulnerable population. So my heart is a little biased towards them.
So you're saying in terms of all the timeline with the RFPs and just, you know, them like figuring out what to do, it
Right.
would be, the RFP would be released. Well, no, for fiscal year starting in July, the RFP would have to be released pretty soon, right?
Yeah, they just had a concept paper released, and they're still DIFTA's sitting on when to actually give it the green light and go. They're looking at the end of this year, maybe the beginning of 2021. That's mid fiscal year to actually begin in fiscal year 2022. But this whole COVID thing, so we don't know when it's really gonna go. So I think it would be a statement from us to say, look, let's prioritize this.
And to further clarify, there is a distinct difference between what senior centers provide and what NORCs provide. NORCs can outreach to those seniors who don't use senior centers, particularly those who are isolated. Even now, during the middle of all this in quarantine, I've been able to reach out to those seniors who before didn't have a use for a senior center, but needed the ancillary services. I know that I'm one of the providers who actually sign up people to get food and meals. So it's definitely a big difference, but we have a better reach or outreach for these seniors than anybody working at a senior center at this time.
Right, okay. So the proposal is to move the NORCs up to number 2 right after senior meals.
I think point of order, can we do the same thing we did before? Like who's for H1, who's for Y1, who's for S2?
Like a vote, right?
Can I make another pitch for youth again? I know I've already said it. I just feel like if you take care of the children, then it frees up the adults to be able to do other things. Not that I'm diminishing anything about the senior needs, because they're all critical.
Oh, okay, I understand what David is. Yeah, no, okay, Deborah. But no, I just understood what David is meaning to do here. Okay, so are we ready to just take a vote on what should be the second one? Yeah. So the choices are the NORCs, the after-school programs, or the social workers.
You said social workers again. I don't see social workers
No.
here at all. I
No,
see
Safe
safe haven
Haven.
beds.
Safe Haven is one.
Okay, Safe Haven. I'm sorry. Safe Haven is at top? It's not the school social workers?
Yes, Safe Haven, it's homeless number 1, Safe Haven, and then youth number 1, which is after school, and then seniors number 2, which is Norks.
Oh, because we moved it up. Okay. So how many people say that? Okay, so we're going to take a vote. How many for, so youth, I'm sorry, for Norks as the second one? Norks as the second one. Thomas, Carmen, and Eric? Norks. That's 3 people. How many people for Safe Havens as the second one? Safe Havens is the second one. One person, Heidi? What was the last one?
After school programs.
After school.
After school programs as the first one.
No, it's definitely that one.
After, I don't know how to raise my hand.
7. That would be 7, including you, May.
Okay.
And you're counting me, right?
Yeah, I'm counting you too.
So it's the after school programs is the second one. Is this taking too long?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going very quickly. Okay, so
Once we
need to
get in the
pull-
groove, it will
Yes.
go faster.
Yeah.
And if we just take the vote, at some point, I appreciate that we did all 3 of them, because that way people don't have to necessarily speak to get them in the hopper. It's like all 3 are in the hopper.
Yep. Oh, shoot, hold on. So I gotta grab that again. After you extolled my skills as a computer mover arounder. Oh wait, no, that's. I think my computer's tired. There we go. There, okay. So our 3 now are homeless number 1, which is Safe Haven, seniors number 2, which is Norks, and youth number 3, which is SYEP. Do we need discussion, or do we want to vote on the top one for these 3?
What do you mean?
I'm confused. I thought that I must have missed something. I thought that we were voting on what was going to be second.
We did. So the number 2 spot now in our priority list is senior meals is the number 1, and increase for after school is
great,
our number
okay.
2.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
So we have these 3 in the hopper, and which one is like the third one, right? Which one goes up to be the third one?
Correct.
Well, I'll just say I'm torn between Safe Haven and Norks.
I'm leaning toward Safe Haven.
Ready to vote for Norks.
Okay, let's just vote. Okay. Does everyone decide? Everyone ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, so how many will say Safe Haven should be the third one? 3 people raised their hands.
Oh, wait, we got more.
Six people raised their hands.
And me, 7.
And you're a 7, okay. How many people for the Norks as the one to go up? 4 people?
5. Oh, no, sorry. 3.
Maybe 5. 3?
Hang on, it's fluctuating.
Not many people here.
We've got 3 now.
Okay, and SYEP, no one voted for. I mean, it doesn't have enough people. So it's Safe Havens goes up.
Okay, great.
So I believe that there's a function that one of the moderators, someone has to lower all the raised hands.
You can, yeah, you can. If you go to the participants list, we can lower all hands. So if
So
you
I
want to give
suggest
me
that
a
we
couple
do
of
that
seconds
between
in between the vote, we can lower the hands.
Yeah, if one person, I know that if someone lowers all hands while I
Yeah.
go to lower my own hand, I'll end up raising it.
Right.
But let's, it'll make it faster and cleaner if we, after we take the vote, we'll say there are just 7, lower all hands.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so then we've got our number 3. So that was homeless 1. So homeless 2 comes up. Okay.
Can you just recap what's 1, 2, and 3 now, please?
Of course, sure. So right now our top 3 are the senior meals, number 1, after school, number 2, Safe Haven, number 3.
Thank you.
Our 3 right now, we're considering our NORCs, SYEP, and social workers.
Okay, so how many for Norks? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people, Carmen, Eric, Thomas, and David Crane.
Larissa.
And Larissa, okay. So 5 for the Norks, and what was the next one?
SYEP.
Oh, I will do SYEP. Wait.
So people need to lower.
Paul is for SYEP, and Ricky. Tati and Heidi. So that's 5. SYEP. Oh no. Okay, and what was the last one? The third one is?
Social workers.
Deborah. Oh, but there's a tie.
Oh, fun begins.
You want to ask if there's one person passionate who wants to say 1 minute about their side?
Maybe Eric could not advocate for the Norks.
I'm sorry?
I'm volunteering
There's
you.
a tie between the Norks and the SYEP.
So once again, this year, we battle the youth against the elderly.
So I have a proposal to settle the tie. Since Deborah was the only vote away, we got to try to convince her for one side or the other.
Can I
Break it down for me. I'm listening.
Can I make a comment about it? May?
Yes, please.
So SYEP, you could lose the whole thing. This year, they cut the program entirely. You're never going to lose NORCs. You want increased funding for NORCs. With SYEP, you're in danger of losing 100% of the program.
Good point.
Also, can I make another comment as well? SYEP, many families rely on SYEP for additional income. So it's also very important for that reason.
Yeah, because their kids are financial. It helps the kids become financially independent, so they don't have to rely on their parents so much.
Yeah.
Whom they cannot rely upon as much as they
It teaches
did
them
before.
financial responsibility, budget management, time management. It's a great program.
So if I was the single holdout here, I would go for the SYEP program.
All right, so it's SYEP.
Super. And it's just that easy.
So what's the next three?
Okay, so now we've got three. What did we just put up? We just put up a youth. Medical for youth. Okay. Sorry, hang on, guys. Right here. Okay, that's it. So we now have NORCS, which is Senior 2, Homeless 2, which is increased staffing for social workers, and funding for school nurses.
Okay, so how many people vote for NORCS to go up? Raise your hand. 1, Eric, Carmen, Paul, May.
I'm trying. Oh, there it goes.
And Larissa.
May, okay, Eric and David. So there's 6 people.
7. Larissa.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's, it's Eric, Carmen, Paul, David, May, and Larissa. Anyone else? I don't see any other hands here. Okay, so it's 6 for the NORCS. What was the next one? Social workers and guidance counselors in school with high homeless populations. Deborah, Tati, and Heidi, 3. Right, Deborah, Tati, and Heidi?
Yes, I had mine up. I just lowered it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had mine up and I just lowered it too.
Okay.
Let's
I
all
thought you
leave our
changed
own
your mind.
hands up and let May bring them down.
Because I was counting, I wasn't sure if you were changing your mind or not. So just leave it up, and like I said, I'll bring it down for you. Thank you, David. So there's two other people who didn't vote. So we can say the NORCS goes up.
That was a senior 2. So we're finished with the seniors. That is now completed. Homeless. That was just. Sorry, hold on. So I'm gonna. Okay, so we have homeless 3. I'm bringing up now.
Well, we've already decided that homeless 2 is more important than homeless 3. So I wouldn't do that. I would just have us choose between 2 and it'll be faster.
Okay. So then we have 2. No, well, we have. Okay, so then we have homeless 2 and youth 3.
Okay, so we're choosing between those 2, the funding for the social workers in the school with the high homeless populations, or funding for school nurses. Susan, do you have any comments on those 2 in terms of the risk of being funded or being lost? Oh, she's maybe not. Oh, she's on mute. Yeah, she's not, I mean, she's still here, but she's may have stepped away. Heidi, do you know much about the funding for the social workers? That was the Bridging the Gap program.
I mean, I know that, you know, it didn't have, the first year that it was implemented after the law was changed to actually put the social workers in the school, they didn't have the funding to meet the law the first year or the second year. So I think it should be a priority.
Do you think? Okay.
And I mean, this was also, when they did, you know, try to implement the law, it was only one social worker per school. It wasn't one per, you know, 10 children or something like that, which is what's needed.
But no, this is about social workers and guidance counselors in schools with high homeless populations.
So we have schools with over 50% homeless. I mean, this is a really important issue for our district.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have a couple of schools.
Yeah.
And they didn't get the program, the Bridge the Gap program, right?
They got it, but I think it was, you know, it's implemented in a spotty way. And like I said, it was if one social worker was for the entire school.
But there were none down here at all. And then the way it was implemented in a spotty way. So are you saying it's?
It was a max of one per school. If we have schools with 50% homeless, and we do, we need more than one. We need more social workers.
For instance, PS 188 has 3 schools within the building. And we're just counting that as one.
Oh.
Anyway, it's a huge need for, everyday need for, I would say, in CB3.
Right. Okay, and then for the nurses,
Ricky back?
Ricky, do you have, yeah, I don't know if anyone has anything to say more than about the nurses other than it's an issue of pay parity. Okay, so can we decide then which one? Let's vote on which one. The social workers in the schools with the high homeless population or the school nurses. How many people for the social workers? Raise your hand. I raise my hand. Okay, so it's Carmen, David, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and May. So that's 7.
Larissa.
Oh, Larissa is 8. Okay, so that goes on. So the other, okay, so then that's the majority of us. So that'll be on top.
Okay, homeless 3 is coming up, and it is the city FHEPS. So these are the next 2.
Okay, so it's the nurses or the FEP program, which is the vouchers. Okay, so if there are no comments, we will just vote. How many for the nurses? Raise your hand. 1. Okay, the vouchers, FEPs. I raise my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6. Okay, there's more for the vouchers. 7. And some people aren't voting?
No, I'm voting.
Oh, you're voting? Okay.
Yep.
Well, okay, so but it's still more for the vouchers. So the vouchers, the FEPS vouchers goes on top.
Okay, we now have pay parity for anti-eviction attorneys. If I can get it to move. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay, so this is kind of a weird split screen. Sorry, guys. So it's increased funding for school nurses versus pay parity for anti-eviction attorneys.
Okay, how many people, oh, let me unraise, let me put down your hand. How many people for the nurses? Nurses, raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And May and Larissa, are you, which one are you?
Yeah, sorry, nurses.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that is the majority of us, right? Okay, so it is the nurses.
Okay, great. Now I can just use this page, which is good. All right, so now a youth comes up. So the youth that's coming up now is for Beacon. So our 2 items are going to be the attorneys versus the Beacon program.
Okay, how many people pay parities for the attorneys? 1. Okay, and then the 2, 3. 3? 2, 3, okay. What is it? It's 3. Okay, Ricky, Carmen, and Deborah. All right, Beacon programs. 1, 2, 4. I'm voting for Beacon programs. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3. Lorraine, Larissa, Beacon programs?
Beacon.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it's the Beacon.
Okay, next one coming up is Cornerstones. So we're voting between Cornerstone programs and pay parity.
Okay. Cornerstone programs. Raise your hands. Cornerstone programs?
Me.
Me. Heidi, 3. Okay, Heidi and David, May and Larissa. Okay, so that is 4. And the lawyers, pay parity for lawyers. 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, many. More than 4 for sure. 7 or 8. Okay, so it's the pay parity for lawyers.
All right, so that's really it. We've got 2 youth now.
What are the 2 youth?
Then we're probably done.
So suggestion, since these are the we
we already reordered
on the bottom as in that order.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Okay, we have our order then.
Yay. Okay, so we have ranked them.
We have ranked them.
And now we need to take a vote on the whole thing, right?
Do you need me to review the order?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so here, final order. Increase funding for senior meals, number 1. Increase funding to expand after-school programs, number 2. Funding for Safe Haven, number 3. SYEP 4. NORCS 5. Staff funding for social workers 6. City FEPS 7. School nurses 8. Beacon 9. Pay Parity 10, Cornerstone 11, and Summer Youth Camp Programs 12.
All right. Okay.
Very smoothly.
Well, yeah, once we got, okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll email this to Thomas, the final order. I had did this one on a Word document, so it would be easier.
Okay.
I'll just send that to him.
Larissa?
Yes.
Instead of putting this shouldn't go in the minutes. If you could just send the priorities and the district needs to me, and then
Okay.
you can just have the vote.
Okay, terrific. The district needs I took straight from the Google Doc, so that one's still the same. I just changed it in the Google Doc, the one change that we made. This one I'll email you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So do we need to record a vote on this?
Yeah.
Okay, we can just like all in, we don't have to do it by roll call. We can just say all in favor.
No, you need to do a roll call.
We need to do a roll call. Okay. Thomas? A roll call on this particular.
You know, if everyone can raise their hand or click the yes or no button, you can tick them off that way. I think we all figured out how to use that.
Yeah, I mean, when we were in the room, we just said all in favor, and they raised their hands, and you know, any abstentions or no's. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. I'm raising. Okay, any no's? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. So this district needs and the budget priorities passes. Yay, okay.
That's great.
So, okay, wonderful. Okay, so we're close to the end of our meeting, and we have some CAB and CEC reports. There were 2 CEC meetings and 1 CAB meeting that we went to. So, Larissa, you went to the Gouverneur CAB?
I did go to the Gouverneur CAB.
I'd like to let her, Larissa is now the vice chair of the Gouverneur CAB.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had elections and she was voted in as vice chair.
Yes, so I'm first vice chair. So there are 2 vice chairs on the committee. So Susan Chang is our new chair. I am first vice chair, and then Donald is the second vice chair. Sorry, Donald Young. Sorry, yes, thank you.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So looking forward to working with them. During the meeting, one thing that we are trying to prioritize right now, considering that there is an uptick in cases in the city, is advertising the COVID testing at Gouverneur. Currently, they have a very fast turnaround. It is a short line. The turnaround, for me, with my son, it was 2 days, literally 2 days, I have my results back. So they're very efficient, great service. What more can I say? What we would like to do is figure out a way to blast that information about the testing availability to the NYCHA housing that are surrounding Gouverneur. That's one thing we don't feel that we're getting is a lot of people coming from NYCHA over to Gouverneur to be tested. So that was our priority.
Okay.
I think, and Larissa, can I just mention one thing at the Gouverneur
Go right
CAB?
ahead, sure.
That they, the ambulatory care, they reported back that of all the COVID tests since the pandemic till now, close to or almost 50% of them were from the zip codes 02 and 09, which I thought was heartening to see or to hear back, because there's always a concern, are we serving our immediate residents? So it was a good report back that nearly half or a little bit more than half were from the Lower East Side that got tested. So that was good.
Okay, great. Okay, actually, before we get to the CECs, Shirley, did you go to the Mount Sinai Beth Israel cab, or did they have one? Well, maybe she's not here anymore. All right. Okay, so Tati, you went to a CEC1 meeting?
Yeah, so I went to this is from the September 23rd meeting. I'll look at my notes. I think it's important to say that things change on the daily, so some of this might not be up to date. But at the meeting, they talked about the main concern being many main concerns, but one of the main concerns was worried about academics, tutoring, students who need extra support with gay-straight alliances, and maybe not being able to find that if they're in remote. So technology, again, the need for tutors, as I mentioned, Wi-Fi and internet access, especially for students in temporary housing. The borough president was on, and she mentioned that Spectrum said they won't provide free internet. So that seems to be a main concern right now. Access to devices, one thing that they said that I thought was hopeful, the superintendent, Carrie Chan, said that now it's being moved so each student in a household will have a device, as opposed to before, where it was one device per household. So that seems encouraging. And they're also hoping to have a Wi-Fi a tech point person for each school. So for tech devices and Wi-Fi. Headphones is something that they're currently working on, because headphones are something that students in temporary housing especially need for remote learning. And another priority is making sure that students have trauma-informed and culturally responsive learning. They're teaching teachers on doing trauma-informed pedagogy, learning labs. Every student in D1 will have a student council, which the superintendent is meeting with to discuss. I'm seeing in the chat that they renewed 60 days of Wi-Fi through Spectrum. So that's, like I said, everything is changing. All students have access to, another priority is students having access to rigorous instructions aligned with priority learning standards. And in terms of District 1, they said District 1 schools need 552 devices. We have 928 students in temporary housing. And families this was again September 23rd, but at that time, families were still waiting for devices. Some devices were not ready by the time that school started. And so families were being sent instructional materials in the mail for students K through 8 that were waiting for devices. And I think that's everything that I have. Yeah.
So they were just talking a lot about the school opening.
Yeah. If there's any questions, I could bring it to Naomi.
Well, the only question I had, it's not related to that, because like you said, it just is changing all the time. But, before we were going to have a, remember the event was about students with IEPs or disabilities, and we were going to have an in-person kind of like a meeting with parents. Yeah, I'm wondering if we should still pursue that, or wait till we go back in person, which might be a long time, or do they see? Maybe we should wait till they settle down. I don't know when that would be. So just following up on something that we had started but stopped. And I think there's still and for that issue there's still a need. It's the only question I have.
Yeah, I can ask Naomi more about that. I think she might. Obviously, that's still a need. Maybe we can combine it with something else that, I don't know. It's sort of difficult to know, because like I said, everything changes so rapidly.
Okay. All right. Okay, oh, Thomas says perhaps in the spring. All right, so okay, so our next meeting will be, okay, the full board meeting will be in October, where will be, the entire board will be, it's October 23rd, I think. The Thursday in October, where we'll be voting on the entire budget priorities and district needs for the entire board, and it'll include our priorities as well. Okay, our next meeting will be in November. And Susan, we talked about this homeless coordination project, having some speakers come talk about some pilot project here in our neighborhood.
That was Eric Rosenbaum from Project Renewal, and he had talked to me about sort of a coordination of all the providers serving the homeless on the Upper West Side. It came up because of the issues around our 3rd Street shelter residents in the hotel up on the Upper West Side. And he said he would be happy to come speak to us about it. It sounded inspirational, actually, you know, and how they're all working together as a whole. So he said he would definitely do it. I can confirm with him.
Okay.
And that's asking.
So just about what they're doing in the Upper West Side.
Yeah, I mean, it could
and
be
there's something, maybe it's something that could be done down here.
It's something that, you know, we could definitely kind of advocate down here. Just to let you know, a little thing we're trying here is, and this is not from the city because the city doesn't seem to do very much, but we have Homeless Outreach and Alliance for Positive Change doing a little pilot project, and it's going to be in an area in the Carlina's district, because she called the meeting, to see if they can do combined engagement for homeless people who are substance abusers, and to see if there's better luck in the joint engagement, because you have people that may engage for substance abuse that are not ready to accept services. So that's just a little thing, you know, we're kind of formally trying. We've been talking about it for years. So.
Okay. Okay, so we'll have that in November. Are there just any other items that committee members want to see coming up in future agendas or even for November that we should talk about? It'll be yet another virtual meeting related to schools, no, seniors. Okay. Paul, are you raising your hand? David raising?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the what will happen at the full board meeting. Well, there are two individuals on the board who love to share their vision or improvement as a friendly amendment. It happens repeatedly. I felt that one of them did damage to a transportation resolution at a past meeting, for instance, and I didn't speak up at the time, and I was just like, just let it slide, whatever. Let's not do that. If they pick one of our items that is way down on the list and say it should be at the top because I'm a know-it-all, object. Don't let it go through as a friendly amendment. Don't do what I did. Just object and say, look, at the committee we talked about it. You know, we talked about these carefully, and we had decided that we preferred that below these other three things you're about to step it way above. I mean, it could be brief and it could be friendly, but don't let people railroad things just because it's a virtual meeting and it is very difficult to have a 50-way conversation. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Paul?
Yeah, just one thing. Transportation is meeting on Tuesday, and I know a lot of people have questions about that Revel company that has all those little scooters going around the city, and especially down on the Lower East Side. They'll be coming to present on Tuesday. If you're interested, they will be at committee. And of course, we're going to do our district needs and budget priorities, but I know a lot of people have been asking about Revel. So Tuesday night, 6:30.
This coming Tuesday, next week?
This coming Tuesday,
Oh.
6:30 on Zoom, same place, same channel.
Okay, okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, so it looks like we are ready for the final vote to adjourn. Make a motion to adjourn.
Don't need the motion.
Okay. Okay, Thomas?
Okay, Maylee, present.
Yes.
Larissa?
Present.
David?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Shirley? Shirley?
She's not
He
here.
dropped off.
Deborah?
Yes.
Tatiana?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Ricky? Ricky Wong?
Yes.
And Carmen Perez?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, okay, so we will see you soon at full board.
So a technicality about the motion to adjourn, there is a motion required, but you don't have to say who will make the motion, who will second the motion. But there is a motion and we did just vote on it.
Okay.
So the meeting is over before I said all that.
Okay, thank you.
That will not make the minutes.
Okay, all right.
The chair is free to just state that there is such a motion if it's an obvious one, which is probably what.
Oh, okay. What am I supposed to say, David?
Oh,
Or we can talk.
just say, so there's a motion to adjourn, let's do it. But Susan has said you don't need a motion. What you don't need to do is pause and wait for someone to make the motion, etc. It's obvious that there needs to be a motion to adjourn, so you can just say, we have a motion to adjourn. That'll be simple.
Say we have a
But it
motion
is a
to
vote
adjourn.
but it is a motion because we could vote no, we will not adjourn. Right? In hostile boards, someone will move to adjourn, someone will second it, and there'll be a vote and it fails. That won't happen with us. But it is a way to shut down a meeting with a majority vote. Anyway, just a parliamentary technicality. I'm just a nerd.
Parliamentarian.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so good night, everyone.
Good
We'll
night.
see you at full board.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Night. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.